knowing your animal as a taxa, as an individual, they all have a user guide and it's your job to know it.
Yes.
It's also your job to know that that user guide will be updated continually,
Glad you said that.
depending on the situation, depending on time of year, depending on everything, and you have to be in tune with that.
Are you guys familiar with the sardine run?
No.
No.
Well,
I mean,
so east coast of South Africa, I don't want to go off with the stats exactly, but one of the biggest, if not the biggest congregation of marine animals on the planet happens sort of, I think, late June. Sardine sort of, spawn and whatnot and booted up the coast. And then you get these massive groups of, pelagic fish, sharks, all your marine birds and whatnot. And of course, dolphins come in. Now, Phil, who used to work with us, he went and dove it this year, this sardine run rather, and he said, I knew the pods of the common dolphins there get insanely big, and I said, did you see any super pods? And he said, and he doesn't exaggerate, he said, I shit you not, he pulled up at this site and the pod was moving through nailing fish, and he said, basically moving in one direction. And he said it went as far as he could see, and he got in the water and he said it went down into the column as basically as far as he could see. And then he did a 40-minute, drift dive or whatever, and the pod was still moving through. And he said, I have no idea how anyone does those biomass surveys of how big the pods are or, how many individuals are in it. Because I said, see any super pods, thinking he might have seen 1,000. And he said, it was incomprehensible, the number. And I've seen some of the videos of it, and it's, he's shown, sent me on WhatsApp. It's exactly, it's a dolphin soup. And it just kind of gets me thinking, and Deane, you'd probably froth out on talking about it, how we know how complex their behavior and their social hierarchy is and whatnot. And you think when they're behaving like that, it's more akin to a school of fish. And it's like, what the hell is going on there? How are they possibly managing the hierarchy? Is there going to be small groups within it? After the run, do you think they're all going to go off into little groups of 50 to 100? Is there super pods of commons living out there for generations with like 3,000, 5,000, 10,000 individuals that just move through the oceans as a gang of like 5,000 common dolphins? And if you haven't seen what common dolphins look like when they're booting through the water, they are stunning. Don't let the name fool you. They are had the privilege of being amongst some wild pods of them, and they're awesome. Their colours are beautiful. Their shape, the way they move, the way they porpoise, they're just a wicked animal. What the hell's going on? Like, do you have any theories of how the hierarchies and that would work, and the family groups and stuff would work when the numbers are getting that big? How go on? Tell me.
They wouldn't. So the common dolphins are probably the species that will superpod in the biggest numbers. So
that's kind of, I think that's kind of how the name evolved. I believe I heard old stories of they found these pods so big that they're like, they must be common, so we'll call them common dolphins, right? But it was, I think the bottlenose probably has a higher biomass than the commons, I would say, anyway, globally.
Yeah, and more distribution around the world.
Yeah.
Literally found in every ocean, like killer whales. Any excuse.
Deane.
No, so they would. So orcas will also do the same thing. They would join up in big superpods. By no means the
Those
sheer
kind of
numbers.
Yeah.
And they'll use that for sexual interaction with different family groups. Obviously,
gene flow.
Yeah. Whereas, common dolphins, probably because of the sardine run, they're going to come together with lots of animals in one place at one time.
Yeah.
And they may use that to kind of dip in and out and say g'day and get some new genetics while they're there.
Yeah.
In terms of social hierarchy, there's probably too much other things going on while they're there to really nut down into all of that sort of stuff, and I'm sure they would. In terms of, any sort of proper research to do on it, it's very difficult, especially
so
pinpointing individuals and looking at specific behavior, because it's hard enough to follow a pod of 5 dolphins in the wild.
Yeah.
When we're seeing such a small amount of their behavior from the surface. I've obviously been lucky enough to work on a dolphin research project for close to 17 years now. I was actually just up there.
Yeah, last week I saw you.
Last week
off Gary.
Saw a new calf. They're Australian humpback dolphins, and I think a super pod of them is 4 individuals.
Were you watching them from the mainland, or did you go over to Gary?
Both.
Yeah,
both.
yeah,
So mainland, and across on the island. But with those individuals, one of those animals I've known for the last 17 years. She was born in the first year of our research. We saw her with her mum as a small neonate. And when I was there on the weekend, she showed us her 4th calf that she's had herself, which is also the only available data on the age of a female giving birth to her first calf. So we know down to the month that she was born. We don't know her exact birth date, but we knew that she was born in January of 2007 and she had her first calf in March of 2017.
So your superpowers are shining. Now, this is somehow turned into a humble brag segment for Deane, but am I still right in thinking your ability to ID them looking at dorsal structure and whatnot is quicker than AI and other things that people have developed?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Only because there's still some errors in there. So they will change their, obviously their dorsal fins change over the years. And that's why it's important to have continual research. So if I look at, that female...
People can probably start to understand now why when I had just watched that brilliant film with Dustin Hoffman where when the toothpicks spill all over the floor and he goes, definitely 248, I've started referring to Deane as Rain Man. Not taking anything away from people who do have certain neurospiciness, but Deane is like that for dolphins and a lot of animals, really.
And killer whales.
And killer whales, exactly.
Just a dolphin.
They're technically an odontocetes, Steve.
I do know there is some research on common dolphins off the coast of Australia, which have now also gone into multi-generational, I think it's Port somewhere. Port Phillips.
Oh, no, right.
I believe it's Port Phillip Bay. There must be semi-regular common dolphins, or at least, they might see them annually. And a number of them are able to be identified again each year from quite significant nicks and scratches out of their dorsal fins. They tend not to... A lot of them have what we would call clean fins in the dolphin research world, which are the hardest animals to ID because there's not a whole lot of physical traits to go from other than even with that specific shape. And sometimes even for myself, when I see a clean fin, I just remember what shape it makes and can remember those animals as well.
Yeah. Love it. So just to go back to my original question, would you then say those superpods, after those significant, breeding events or hunting events, then they disperse into smaller groups, a few hundred or whatever, hey?
I believe so, yeah. They
cool.
they wouldn't really sustain that long term.
Yeah. That makes sense, but I didn't want to make any assumptions. I thought it was a good little fun one to chat about anyway.
It's probably more so critical with orca family groups that do that because everyone in that pod is related. It's a matriline affair.
Yeah.
Whereas we know those pods of common and bottlenose dolphins are more of a fission fusion. So there will be unrelated animals that spend time together anyway.
Yeah, a little bit more.
It's probably not as crucial for inbreeding as what it is, and likely for killer whales where they're like, great, let's all join up together for whatever, and then while we're here, let's make sure we share some genetics
around. Sick. Love it, Dino. Thanks, man.
So one of the coolest things working with animals, and I think it's most obvious in the dogs that we work with now, whether they're your pet dogs at home, dogs that we work with out in the field, is feeling like you are completely in tune with that animal that you're working with. It's sometimes described, animal training, working with an animal as being a dance. You're feeding off what they're doing, they're feeding off what you're doing, and I think at times you hear it in the pet world, and I've kind of said it to myself out in the field, that my dog can read my mind.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, I'm going to recall them back in while we're out searching for something, and lo and behold, they start coming back in towards me. I didn't even need to give the cue.
You're thinking it'd be nice if they checked around the base of that uke for me, and then they immediately go and do it. Yeah,
they do it straight away, and I mean, yeah, it's just one of those things that you get out there when you're working with your dogs, and I guess beautiful as it is, I think it's just interesting to destroy all illusion and discuss it from a pure
I was really
behavioural point of
hoping
view.
you were going this way because I love but to me when you like destroy it all, it's almost like saying that's the reasons behind it to me are just as fascinating as the possible magic.
Absolutely.
You know?
I
And
don't think it takes away from it.
Having a better understanding of what is actually happening in that
It's
moment
super impressive.
is impressive and is only going to help you out to make sure that it's not impacting anything that you're trying to do.
To a similar sort of vein, which I don't want to detract too much, but it's like when people have nervous chihuahuas in their arms and then someone walks past and it goes and it's like, oh, she's just protecting me, and it's like, no, you've read that completely wrong. That animal just hates the world and is fucking nervous and doesn't want to be held up in your arms right now, would rather be on the ground being a dog. You idiot. Those kind of people aren't listening.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't have any specific examples, but I think there's lots of ways that it does kind of reveal itself. So I guess that simple example of a dog that seems to be reacting to your very thought about what they are when you're doing a field search. I guess there's patterns of behaviour there, and
very from you and from the animal
exactly
and predictability, right? Yeah.
So it's probably and truly is a dance where you're seeing their behaviour and you're thinking it's about time that they come back in, and that's probably partly based on what you've already observed in the past from their behaviour. So even your thought is probably triggered by
rhythm, timing. Yeah,
Exactly
I mean, and that's where the dance analogy is so good, and why when I see someone work with a species, say something that's really nuanced, a marine animal, or perhaps a moody-ish, I don't want to use an anthropomorphic word, but a primate species where they have a rhythm or a flow to their training session. They go, he knows everything. It's always beautiful. It's always bomb-proof. And I go, okay, now I want you to do the behaviours when I call them out. And I go, now ask for a VIP. Now ask for a mouth open, and it goes to shit. And it's because the person, this animal, are used to this dance together where it feels like animal reads their mind and knows it. And it's like, it's still super impressive. It's amazing that happens, but it's not reading your mind. It's because I think there is that timing of predictability.
It is exactly Clever Hans, the horse in the 60s, 20s.
I can't remember. It was a long time ago.
Long time ago. For those of you listening who aren't too sure, the Clever Hans effect. Clever Hans was a horse that could count.
Yep.
And his trainer, some German name.
Yeah.
Doing well.
That's
Van,
right. Yeah.
Van Osten or something, or Van something, said his horse Hans could count.
Yeah. Do arithmetic. 7
yes.
plus 7, that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was some fun police dude, also German name, who basically watched the behavior and said, no, the horse is picking up on cues from his trainer.
Yeah.
As to when
Unintentional cues.
Certainly wasn't setting out to pull the wool over everybody's eyes. But every time Han say he asked him to add up to 5, the trainer would nod his head, and then he would stop at 5, and the horse would stop.
Yeah.
But the horse is just watching his behavior.
Yeah. No, breath holding and eye line and all that.
Correct.
Which
tensing, or he's about to get it.
And you think from a dog's perspective, like humans are so verbal and dogs are not, right? Their verbal or more vocal repertoire is not that important in the grand scheme of things. It's all about body language. They read our body language constantly. And so when you think, I'm going to tell my dog to turn right, and then you go, I'm going to tell my dog turn right, but you've already looked that way, taken a breath, maybe your gait has changed a little bit, and particularly like your border collies and kelpies and stuff, they've spotted all that. Like as soon as the thought enters your mind, your body is now adapted, and then that dog's picked that up and gone, the fact that you say right is basically inconsequential to the behavior for the dog.
Or even in some zoo world, if you're training a separation or something like that with a difficult animal, you look at that gate, that animal's gone. You're nah. I didn't. My arm moved like slightly, like I'm in gone.
Yeah, it's
like,
amazing at the eagle rays. We can do like sling training and catches with them and whatnot, and you rehearse it. You do it early mornings, late afternoons. You try and do it with chaos and stress. And the day where like we're really going to move them today, then you go, today's the day we're actually catching them, guys. Everything's still technically the same. And they just go, no thanks. And it's like, damn it, they can read our minds. But, probably we're holding our breath, we're nervous, we're leaching pheromones out of our body that we're not aware that the, elasmobranchs can pick up on fear and tension and all that kind of jazz.
Like, why is his hand sweaty?
We used to see that with the seals all the time. We'd train for a procedure and, they'd go into the box or into the crush or onto the whatever it is they need to do. And then the vet would come down, and certain vets were quite militant with the army of vet nurses that they brought down. It was all radio off, everyone's silent, blah, blah,
be
blah.
quiet. We've got to be calm.
So many precursors.
Yeah.
In the
Everybody be calm.
How's, were you going to talk then? I was going to say that, the whole reading our mind thing, it got me thinking, I don't know if you were going to talk about this today, but with like PTSD dogs or medical alert dogs, or like I've done a little bit of work with some medical alert dogs and certainly worked with a lot of trainers who do PTSD dogs, and how they very deliberately teach the dogs on overt cues that I'm going to have a seizure or that I'm going to have a consequence in my body of traumatic stress. So it might be, clenching fist or the bouncing knee that Deane loves to do when he's overwhelmed, and teaching the dog that when I do these really obvious signals, that then I want you to come and interrupt me. And then the dog just goes, oh, when you're tense, I interrupt you, no worries. And then it's like as soon as that person even thinks tense thoughts, or as soon as their body is about to have a seizure, in an hour, the dog's like picked up on these subtle nuances of what's happening in your brain. And it's like, yeah, they kind of are reading your mind, you know? Like it is happening, but it's also your mind then gives off chemical signals in your pheromones, in your sweat and in your respiration, all that sort of shit that the animals are picking up on, which it's like, I don't know, that's maybe more magnificent than being magical or spiritual,
Absolutely, yeah. I think that the fact that you are that connected with your animal, even though I think, we can break it down to boring science.
Yeah.
It shows, for lack of a better word, that they care. They're tuned into you as well, and they're responding accordingly. So it's still beautiful.
And we know when you feel good, you release oxytocin. Right? And we know that empirically proven that goes up in dogs when you feel that. So whether you're like, that's, I suppose we're just, we're all agreeing the same thing is happening. It's magical, but it's just that we're just using a different term to describe it. We're all saying the same thing. We're just using different words.
And I think pet dogs are given a lot of credit for it. My current border collie, the Kelpie I used to have, the border collie we had growing up, they were all bandits for, when someone's in a heightened emotional state, they might be overtly crying or a bit tense. I remember times where there was, family tragedies going on, and the border collie would come and put their chin on someone's lap, and they'd be like, oh, they get it. And they're opportunists, really. Like, these are dogs that are highly, highly social. They love nothing better than attention and pats, and
or they want to break up tension. Like a lot of border collies be like, I don't like tension. This is all weird. How about a tennis ball? Well, that's solve everyone's problems in life.
This is good for me. Oh, you're sad? Have a tennis ball.
Yeah, so I don't see it necessarily as most of the time them like thinking, oh, I'm there to comfort you. It's like, you seem vulnerable and likely to give me pats right now. Yeah. This might be the time where I'm actually allowed on the lounge. Or
Yeah. Mate, remember Ari, my Aussie Shepherd? He was not affectionate with me, and he wanted to work with me and play and whatnot, but not like your true lovey kind of cuddly dog. I'd call him up on the bed every morning or every night as well for a cuddle. And then as soon as I moved or took my attention off, he'd be like, oh, thank God, this is lame. He was like, I'm going to go sleep outside. And, but when I had one of my many wonderful incidences in hospital, I lost a stack of blood, And I don't feel the cold. Typically, I'm not someone that worries about the cold. And I'd lost something like 1.5 liters or more of blood, and it took me a really long time to get better from it. But one night I was rugged up on the couch, like freezing cold, watching TV in my old place in Newport, and I was just mildly shivering and really friggin' uncomfortable and felt like shit. And he leapt up onto the couch and like laid down on me. Jen's got a photo of it, and he laid down on me and put his chin in my shoulder and just stayed there. Like, and I tried to move, and he was like, "Nah, just chill there, mate." Like, not forceful or like resource guarding, like people are probably assuming, but just stayed there right on top of me until I stopped shivering. And then he was like, "Righto, dickhead," and then off he goes and sits outside. But that again, to me, I'm like, far out. Like, that's not reading my mind, but reading subtle body signals and going, yeah, you're part of my pack. You're cold. When animals get cold, we huddle. And he's just like, I'm just going to huddle.
I need you for a training session and a meal later. So
yeah. He's like, I'm just going to keep you alive. And like, you could get emotional with it. And I, telling that story, I get a little twitch in my eye. I'm like, oh, don't cry, Ryan. But at the same time, I'm like, no, that's just like biological function, where he's like, you're part of my crew. I can't have you dying this winter. I'm just going to lay on top of you to keep you alive.
You're the one that feeds me, so everyone stacks on.
Yeah. It's a cack though, but it's still amazing. It's still beautiful, but it's not like this. It's not. I guess probably the key for me is it's not really altruistic.
No,
it's amazing, phenomenal, but I don't really believe in altruism.
What a beautiful point to
Where everyone's selfish, everyone sucks. Animals and dogs too.
Yeah. So remember, everybody, animals included, are wrong.
Selfish pricks.
Yeah. Good one. Inspirational. What traits do we think our animals look for in a trainer? What traits do we think that they would like from us? And how do we hit them?
Now, this is probably a biased response because it's how I look at the world. Well, how I want people to respond to me. And I've had a really difficult week at work with some clients and contractors and stuff. And what I look for in people and what I try and deliver back to the world is predictability in how I'm going to respond under certain circumstances. And I think that's why some of my staff and some of the people that I mentor and train go, oh, but, we'll go, oh, Ryan, they'll just do that for you because it's you, because you've just got this amazing skill. And I was like, I don't think I'm a skilled trainer. I think I'm really predictable in what I expect, what I accept, and what I reinforce. And the animals, I think I pretty quickly establish where they know where they stand with me. So for me, my only kind of home truth is I don't have to be the most dynamic and amazing dancer, worker, reinforcer, because I'm not, but I'm consistent. They know what to expect out of me, and they know that
the two-step shuffle
with my tongue in the side of my mouth. But they know that if I use a high value marker, I will reinforce with a high value reward. If I say no or and you repeat that behavior, I'm going to wrap the session up, or I'm going to separate you from the other animals that you're bullying. Like I set these basic fundamental principles up of going, yep, I pay this very, very well and with all my heart and soul and with the highest value reinforcers I can. And if you do these things, there's going to be a consequence of negative punishment or separation or whatever you want to call it. And I think that's why I get the results I get, is because of that predictability in how I respond to stimulus from my animals.
Yeah,
I think they like
that. Consistency was the first thing that came to my mind as well. And I don't think that means you need to be flat, which just as you're describing there, like I want a big response to things. If things go wrong, you're allowed to be frustrated by that. If things go right, I want you to be super excited by that.
Yeah.
But it needs to be predictable. You need to be able to pair that with the behavior that's going on in front of you and be able to respond accordingly.
Almost the flip side to that is that if I reinforce, and it's almost comes down to like differential reinforcement of excellence, right? Where, finding hawkweed, difficult process, dog finds it. Early on the day, if the dog makes a hit, yes, mark it, reinforce appropriately with toys, with lots of praise and stuff like that. But there has also been times where the animal has dug so deep and done something so bloody impressive after such a long week of work that I have done this. I've gone, yes, thrown the ball, run and dived into a bog with mud and water and rolled around the dogs, like wrestling with them in the mud, in the filthy, cold, shitty weather, to go, like, my response is appropriate to the level that you've delivered for me, and maybe in early training I might do differential reinforcement of excellence or random reinforcement, but I still think like there's an element of they know that he's going to acknowledge my goodness. How impressed he is, I don't know how impressed he's going to be every time, but I know he will. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think I guess going back to an earlier conversation, red flags would be moodiness.
And they don't like unpredictable people.
Yeah, which exactly goes straight back to the predictability thing and the consistency. But
if you're a shit drunk, dogs won't like that. Like if you're someone, if you get on the piss and your personality changes, dogs will pick up on that. They hate it. I've seen it times, particularly like Rottweilers, Shepherds, and our more sort of breeds that are designed to be protective. They don't like that. Someone gets on the piss and suddenly their behaviour changes, their attitude changes. The dogs go, nah, this is inconsistent. This is rubbish. Sorry.
Yeah, well, and I think again, on consistency, your behaviour towards your animals and your attitude towards your animals should be directly related to what's going on with them. So if you're coming in a bad mood because of other things and that's impacting your interaction with them, that's problematic. And your colleagues probably aren't going to like it either.
Totally. I've worked with people and that have come in and gone, sorry everyone, I'm going to be in a terrible mood today. And it's like, I don't know, but mate, like we're working with dangerous animals here. I don't want you coming in here. And I don't like it. Yeah. And so these dangerous animals that we're working with, they're not going to like it either. And you are now, by coming in a crap mood, different. Like, and I've said to these kind of people before, I don't mind if you come in and go, hey mate, my auntie died on the weekend and we were really close and it's been hard. Or I just found out that, my brother crashed my car and I'm pretty pissed off. I go, great, thanks for the knowledge. Don't do a training session today. Or don't, maybe go home.
You're not going to get the best out of your animal. The
No.
animal's not going to get the best out of you.
And like how epic on the flip side of that, how epic is it when someone comes into work and goes, I had the best weekend. I'm in the best mood. I had a great sleep. And you're like, this is going to be a good day. This is the person I want beside me working with dangerous animals.
Because they're the people that are, when you're in that headspace, when your session goes feathers up, because it's going to, that's when you're going to laugh at it.
Yeah.
You're going to laugh with your animal. You're going to think, I'm going to rechange this. Because when you're not in that headspace, it's when you're going to get frustrated. That's when you're going to push that next boundary and you're like, nah.
And then probably to go one step further is overconfident. There's we were working on a mining site recently, and when you do your take 5 in the morning before you go out and we're doing surveys with detection dogs, you have to do your take 5 for safety. And one of the things is you got to ask yourself, am I overconfident about the task? And if you and that's the thing you got to say it out loud. Am I overconfident about the task? And chat to the people around you.
No, because I'm the best at it.
Yeah, exactly right. And it's like
I'm rightfully confident.
Yeah. So it's like you don't want to be a Derry Downer, and you want to be happy, but you don't want to be like, I've done this a million times. I'm the best thing, and I picked up on the weekend, and nothing can go wrong. And then the elephant goes, "See you later." Yeah.
I think another trait. You're not allowed to turn, Deane. Another trait
My question and all.
is like flexibility and adaptability. So you would.
That's good.
Very aggressive, mate. You were talking
You're very
earlier.
unpredictable, and I don't like it.
You were talking earlier about responding to what your animal's telling you, and I think that's really important. I've seen animals held back in progression because a trainer either hasn't thought through the full plan, or they're so caught up on the stages that they've planned that they go, well, no, in this session, I'm getting your flipper up to this point and I'm doing that. And then the animal's gone, yeah, I've done that. And they're like, repeat it another 10 times. And you go, no, you need to be, the animal has just shown you that they're ready to be 10 steps down the way.
And how confusing are we getting now? Because this again feeds into that conversation we were having last night about how sometimes you need to relax criteria.
Yes.
So you're aiming for something new, and yes, my animals always know where they stand with me, but I think I do enough training that they go, when he's really pushing me for something new, they know it's okay to kind of be sloppy with some other things, and I will accept that. Yeah. So that is like, yes, you do sometimes need to be
like they will know that. They will have
pick
picked
that
up.
Yeah.
They've clocked that.
Yeah.
20,000 times before.
And I think as well, some animals that when they get that game of training or just life and living, so if you do the same thing, more than 10 times with a higher IQ kind of animal, you do it the same thing 10 times in a row to the same criteria, I feel like a little part of their brain goes, because of the reinforcement schedule and whatnot, this is locked in, this is what is expected, and that I will deliver the same thing. But when your success rate is only sort of 75% and you're pushing harder and they're failing and then they're winning and they're jackpotting and then they're missing one and whatnot, they're still like, this is in learning. They understand that this is a shaping and evolving task, and that in that context, to be consistent is to be flexible and to be variable. And whereas in the former context, to be consistent is to say, no, I ask for the same criteria every day. You go outside, you wee, then you come back inside, or whatever it may be. So
I think it transcends into into people. I mean, we've all had a boss where they walk in the morning, you're like, I do not know if I'm going to get screamed at, if they're going to say hello,
So it sucks.
Yeah.
Oh,
what was that?
Pointed at me. He's like, this guy.
Yeah, it's like, I don't want that. That environment isn't nice for me. That's not the environment you create for your animal. You're consistent again where, when you need to be, and be flexible with that, and be fair.
Yeah.
We know our animals. It's like, knowing your animal as a taxa, as an individual, they all have a user guide, and it's your job to know it.
Yes.
It's also your job to know that user guide will be updated continually, depending on the situation, depending on time of year, depending on everything, and you have to be in tune with that, and otherwise you will never get full potential from yourself.
And a throwback to Steve's story on Bob Bailey, to be that eternal learner and say, this is the book on this species as we know it now, but that could change, and I need to be open to the fact that new data will come out. We will learn new information the more we study the animal, and we should update our principles and rules of engagement.
And I think that really high observational skills is so critical, and goes, hand in hand with everything else, particularly that flexibility, because you can look at your animal one day and you go, they're just not responding that sharply today. And so maybe it's time to bin that session altogether, or just really change your criteria, change your expectations of where you're heading with it, because as you always say, they're telling you everything you need to know.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to then, which I think something we might talk about at another point, is to say, oh, you're really moody today.
Yeah.
But there's going to be something else going on. So I don't mind calling people moody, but I'm not going to call an animal moody where there's something else going on there.
It's that, it's that path that your trainer's going to take. So if your animal's telling you, I'm not reaching this for whatever reason, and there's the trainer that'll go, you're telling me this, let's work with this. I'm either going to kibosh this session altogether, or let's just move on. I need to re-establish what's happening here, and I can't do that right now. Or there's the trainer that's like, I told you to lay down, and we will lay down, and I will ask you again, or you will get a timeout, or, that's when it, like that stuff makes me want to run full pelt into a wall.
Yeah.
Head first.
We've all seen those sessions, hey, when someone's like, no, this is happening today. You're like,
no, he knows what I mean.
Yeah.
No, he's telling you he doesn't.
And
you're not reading it.
All you're going to do is just trash your relationship, hey? Man, I've been there. I'm sure I've done it before. I've badgered an animal into performing a behaviour.
Did you feel good after it?
Oh, I'm just about to say, you feel like shit. When you're like, no, I've asked, I will make this happen, even though there's probably a bunch of legitimate reasons why that animal doesn't want to perform it on that day. I'm going to re-cue it. I'm going to ask it to do it this way. I'm going to provide a bit of spatial pressure to kind of make it happen. It's like, don't. Just sometimes just back off.
Did I tell you what happened recently when another trainer who I hold in quite high regard, Peter Gildrum, came...
Hear that, Peter? Quite high regard.
Very high regard. He knows.
I just added him on Facebook the other day.
Yeah, okay, good. Me too. He rang me. Anyway, he'd come to visit our facility.
Yeah.
And I was demonstrating with him one of the behaviors I've trained with one of the elephants is to give me the cue when I can take their blood. Giving them full agency over that. So basically I get him to smell a particular odor.
Yep.
He then goes, oh, yeah, that means you want to take my blood, presents his ear.
Yeah.
Ear will stay there. I will then go in. If that ear comes out, it's getting a needle in it.
Yes.
That's the consent.
That's a consistency. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so went up there, yeah, great, spoke about it, gave the elephant the cue, and he walked backwards. And I was like, oh. I was like, that's weird. I was like, I'll show you again. Elephant came over, gave him the scent, walked backwards. And I was like, he does. Not only is he not presenting his ear, he's actively going, I'm moving away from this fence right now. Right then and there, I was like, I don't know what's happening right now, but I'm engaged with an animal. We just move on. So I worked a few other behaviors with him, did a full session, showed some concept work and fine with everything else.
Yeah.
I made the decision then that I wasn't going to ask again that session. And as we left, walked around the habitat and went to exit the facility, right behind the elephant paddock, which I couldn't see, 2 shipping containers were being delivered. And as we'd walked around, bang, one of them banged it. I was like, if I had a needle in that elephant while that happened.
Yeah.
So obviously he could hear the
vibrations of the
everything,
feel it through his feet.
Everything.
Yeah.
And I was like,
he's like, no, there's a small earthquake nearby. Yeah. I don't want a needle in my ear during that time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, sick.
And all I remember thinking was, as I walked past, I was like, thank fuck I listened to that animal during that session. I was like,
it would have gone so tits up. Yeah.
And the upside of it, we went back half an hour later, offered him the smell, bang, ear came straight out, needle in, so I could reclaim the fact that I wasn't a dud trainer in front of somebody that I really respect. At least I didn't get bitten by a seal in front of him.
Bob Bailey. Yeah, exactly.
What an awesome opportunity to reinforce the fact that this is actually a line of communication.
Yes.
I gave you the option. Yeah. You told me and I respected it.
Yeah, goes with that. You're right. Yeah, I was like, thank you for telling me.
Yeah.
Because if it's that or I lose the behavior or, even if they're getting frustrated at a behavior for whatever other reason, I'll figure out that reason why. I'll need to unpack it or whatever. But thank you for not pummeling my head into the concrete with your trunk.
And I think something that comes out of, I think it was out of Shed Aquarium originally, that whole rule of if you've asked for something twice and it hasn't happened, don't ask for it again until you've sought an opinion elsewhere, because
unless someone owes you money.
But yeah, I think that's a pretty good general rule for most people, regardless of the species you're working with. If you've asked twice, even if it's a relatively new behavior, if you've asked twice, probably especially if it's new, first time you asked clearly and the cue wasn't sloppy, the animal wasn't distracted or whatever, you presented your cue, the animal's gone, no, thank you. And then you go, yeah, I'm going to ask again. The animal goes, no, thank you.
Recheck yourself, make sure your setting's fine. Is sun in your eyes? Did you see my cue? Was my cue precise? Was I clear? If you get the same answer, you're like, okay.
Walk away. Get out of there, do something else, because all you're going to do is possibly trash your relationship or poison that cue, or end up in worst case scenario, which I think is what probably came out of that the Shed Aquarium sort of manual was. You could die, if you frustrate an animal enough and it said, I'm not doing that behavior. You don't know what's happened in their world for the last 24 hours, probably. You could end up getting tuned up. So it's
trigger stacked along the way.
It could be the last. It could be. But I think, birds, dogs, sheep, follow it with them too. I think it's a really nice rule. Twice in a row.
Can't remember if I mentioned after he refused the behavior twice, we still did a full session.
Of course. It doesn't mean finish him and walk away. It just means don't do that behavior.
And it was, again, in that situation, like you said, I was able to reinforce him for telling, thank you. Good job. Like, that's what I wanted.
Yeah.
I might not have paid him for the walk backwards, but we moved on. We went, let's just keep doing a session.
Yeah, sick.
Oh, it's getting louder.
So I was working through some paperwork for things we've got to do for exhibited animals and for research and whatnot. And there was some wording in it around reducing the use of working animals, reducing the need of animals in work and things like that. And it sort of,
Jarred.
it did, mate. It kind of hit me where I'm saying, why are we saying this is such a bad thing in this particular setting? Well, probably people listening probably agree with us immediately, but it is an interesting dialogue of around guilt within our industry where people feel as though because of possibly some pressure from minority groups that there's a certain level of shame that we need to have with either our industry or the work that we do with animals or utilising military working dogs or detection dogs for at festivals or, livestock, horses, things like that. And, it just kind of got me thinking about, human history and the evolution of humans with animals and how a lot of these species need us, and that we can do good with them and that, we shouldn't give in to this rhetoric of, you're an animal trainer, therefore you need to give caveats and go, yeah, but I'm one of the good ones or whatever, or automatically get on this defensive. Like, we only do it because we really have to. We don't have any tools other than the dog for finding explosives. So that's the only reason why we're putting dogs in this situation. And it's like, well, I think these dogs live a pretty bloody good life. And I think we should lean into that and celebrate that having working animals is not, I kind of want to tell people to jam it when they suggest. And there's been agencies and stuff that will have animals in pound environments or like including like livestock and domestics and stuff and dogs obviously where they won't rehome them if there's any slight connotation that the animal will be part of work or part of a business. And it's like, oh yeah, but friggin' let's keep them in a shelter 24/7 in a concrete box because work's possibly friggin' dangerous. It's like, come on.
Or send them to a loving family who's going to put them in the yard with the 6-foot fence that meets their requirements and then leave them there.
Leave a high drive animal. Yeah, exactly. So
it's the opposite. I think you have welfare issues when animals aren't working.
Yep.
When animals aren't. And let's set the record straight there in terms of, the behaviours that it's trained ethically. It's
yes, of course.
The work, sure, I perhaps an animal, harnessed up to pull a cart for 12 hours a day with, no choice in the matter to get there or
is a different story. Not great. Yeah.
Perhaps not the best day, but when we're honing into natural abilities and superpowers, a dog using its nose that is designed to do that.
Yeah.
Go out for 10 hours, sniff your heart out, locate things that are associated with the highest levels of reinforcement for you, or sit on the balcony for the day.
Yeah. And can I tell you, in my circle of professionals and in my own career, the biggest injuries to working dogs or to even animals that, within zoos and stuff like that have occurred have almost always occurred in the most innocuous of circumstances where the animal has not been subjected to a training session or something that we would consider inherently risky. Like, yes, there are outlier events where bombs go off and people and dogs get shot, but the frequency of things that just happen in backyards, animals, for example, a big one, understimulated working dogs in people's backyards do ACLs all the friggin' time. They get so excited when the owners get home or when someone throws a tennis ball or something, they friggin' jump 10 feet high when they're freezing cold first thing when they snap their ACL. That stuff rarely, if ever, happens during structured work. These kind of things happen with all sorts of animals in the home environment. I've had my worst incidences of grass seeds happen in my bloody backyard, not at work, not while the dogs are out at working. And I think as well, to kind of go to an extreme example of it where people go, oh, this is the most dangerous thing a working animal could do. The modern general purpose police dog or, GP style dog in a jail, young Mallee, Rottweiler, German Shepherd, that is going to be engaging, a big bad dude hyped up on meth with a baseball bat in his arm. Those dogs have been selected from a litter from parents that were bred because they have particular abilities in that area, and they've selected a litter of the most fearless, hilarious bullheads in the world, like Amy Smith's 3 boys. You know, like they are like fearless athletes from day dot. These kids, you meet them and just go, oh, they are born athletes. You know, you go, that's the kind of dogs that get chosen for these roles. And when they bring them out, particularly the modern one, I'm not talking about some of the ones I saw 20 years ago. You bring them out and there's someone who's gotten out of a smashed car with a baseball bat in his arm going, bring it on! And he's covered in sweat and hyped up on God knows what. And you get that Malinois out of the car. The Malinois sees him and goes, oh, great! Like, he's my sparring partner for the day. That dog is having the best time of its life. It's like, whether it's tracking that person or going into it, it's like, yeah, there is a chance of an injury for sure. But if you could ask that Malinois, would you rather be in a pet home with a, you know, old couple who just give you cuddles and sit on the couch and maybe throw a treat for you? Or would you rather be with this commando going through the back streets of, you know, Western Sydney, chasing down
Deane
bad
lives.
dudes where Deane lives and chewing on their arms? Like, the dogs would go, yeah, man, let's roll the dice and take the different pill.
Yeah, and I think it's right that zoos, that animal trainers, that all of these agencies that use these animals are constantly reviewing their practices.
You have to, yeah.
Looking at how these animals are housed, how they're used. You know, some zoos, I think, make wise decisions when they say, we're moving out of this species. We did it with leopard seals at Taronga Zoo.
Sure.
Certain zoos have said, we can't provide for elephants here. And I think in a lot of those circumstances, it's a right call when they're looking at the welfare of their particular animals.
And their settings as well.
That's right.
And like sitting down with your animal ethics committees with, you know, what do you call it? The like independents and whatnot to review. Like, you guys have got your own independent welfare assessment team and whatnot. That's all valid. I'm super for, you know, we participate in animal welfare assessments and have committees check out.
And we're constantly looking at our animals' individual welfare and the jobs that they do. And we have very strict guidelines for our team as to how long they can travel for, how long they can work each day.
Retirement ages, like
all of those different kinds of things. It will vary animal to animal, job to job. But, you know, to anthropomorphise, our dogs are never happier than when they're in the field. Yeah. And like you say, those other ones are the same. So, you know, none of us are horse trainers, as may be evident with some of the loose comments we make about horses. But, you know, that horse that's pulling Deane's cart for 12 hours a day, maybe 12 hours is too much, maybe the cart's too heavy, but they probably actually, like our Malinois, have been bred for specifically that purpose. And there's some enrichment to them in pulling a cart. It's just about...
And you could go down, you know, a further rabbit hole of, well, why are we breeding these animals in the first place? Is it right and whatnot? But I think we're there, and breeding certain brachycephalic dog breeds and, you know, certain cat varieties and whatnot, I think is way more cruel than breeding animals that live a wonderful, enriched, fulfilled life with different physical and mental challenges.
Certainly.
Shall we ring that bell?
I do. I hate enrichment. No, I don't hate it.
All right, that's it. Let's go.
Yeah, done.
I just don't think it's done very well in a lot of places.
I was...
And there's too much of a reliance on it and not enough backup research once it's in, and I hate it.
Well, I was sort of, you know, raised on it's enrichment or training. Like they both serve the same kind of function, but you do one or the other. It's not, they both can't be in together. And I think it probably comes down to the semantics of how you describe enrichment within your own context or facility. But like I rarely see it done well.
Yeah, and I think when I entered the zookeeping world and you were there, enrichment was entrenched. It was across all departments. Enrichment was a requirement daily, pretty much.
Yeah.
It's a tick box.
Yeah, and that's it. It often fell at a scheduled time and was ultimately the same item each time. Yet, animal training was often a bonus maybe if you could find the time and convince people.
So and that's probably a pretty bloody good point. It's like if you're strapped for time, I think it's a pretty low bar to say we don't have time for training, but we've put 3 things in a tub and thrown it in and done enrichment. It's like, oh, that's dog shit. Don't bother. Like, I think if you're doing it at the same time of day with the same kind of things that don't provide an appropriate level of challenge, or that the animals don't engage with at all, then just bloody bin it.
There's 2. So one of the ways that at our facility we'll run it is there's 2 things that make me go, okay, I like this. This is worthwhile. Goal based.
Yeah.
How do we figure that out? Well, we have to first understand that taxa and what they need. We also need to understand what are they missing in their day with us. So, like at our facility, we did behavioral studies.
Yes.
On each of our species.
Yep.
And compared that to wild behavioral studies and looked at areas where, so say for instance with my department, meerkats were foraging far less with us than they would in their normal day.
Yes.
So it freed up time for them to do stuff that they shouldn't have been doing, like pacing or waiting at a gate or anything like that. So our goal for the team initially was I want us to, at every feed, rather than a feed taking 8 seconds as you throw the food down and they run around as a family and gobble it all up, minimum of 30 minutes for them to get this. So every piece of it, they got, the team were amazing. They got forage pits designed and built by the maintenance team so that this particular pit could be put anywhere and have any number of substrates put in there that we, depending on what food we had, in order to hide it in. We had slow release live bug feeders. So we built PVC pipes and covered it in concrete so that they could slowly come out. We had, slow release feeders that could be hung everywhere.
Yep.
And then our next goal from that was to increase it to an hour. We wanted forage time at each feed to be close to an hour.
Yeah, which is more natural.
Correct. And then once we had that established and we were able to then do more behavioral studies again, the time foraging had increased, not to the complete, but tenfold.
Yeah.
So I think you have to first understand what are we missing here or how can we improve on this? You need to know that for your animals.
And I think on the meerkat and on what's missing too, where I think there's a crazy missing link.
I think I know what you're going to say.
Is the threat of predators, right?
Correct.
Predation. And I think that's where, for me, and I don't mean, and there's, again, needs to be discussed with people who are highly experienced and there's nuances to it. But I think a lot of stereotypies and or neophobic style stressors in the animals come out because they have not developed a need for resilience. And I think the wild is a dangerous place where you need to be on guard 24/7. It's like being in King's Cross on a Friday night in the 90s. You need to be watching your six, otherwise you're going to get king hit at any minute. So I think that there's some really brilliant ways to utilize enrichment that encourages fleeing behavior. We've seen the images of hawk shadows flying over meerkat exhibits, which encourages animals to retreat. They successfully retreat away from the predator, and then that can, a bit like the movie Wedding Crashers, funerals make everyone horny. It's like they go, oh, we nearly died, and then they're like, oh, but we got away from death. They think about death, and then the concept of evading death or evading a predator has, in many studies, increased reproduction, increased breeding behavior within social groups. So I think that's a missing key. I'm not saying get in there and scare all your animals, but I think some natural levels of simulated predation evasion is probably somewhere I've seen enrichment be epic.
We will utilize that if we start to see issues within group breakdowns in meerkats. So we may bring a dingo into back a house or ride along.
As soon as they have a fight, you let a dingo in there?
Yeah, pretty much. So we'll get them to walk along. We'll get the dingoes to walk along fence lines and run and almost want to go those animals. So those meerkats go, we're not kicking him out now because there's dingoes around. Yeah. Everyone come together. We need to. It's
super important, mate.
We'll take snakes in.
Go spend an afternoon out in the Kruger National Park or anywhere in Africa where a lot of the animals that are displayed in zoos live, and look at how many times per hour something tries to kill them. Like, it's mental. It's like there's something going to kill you around every freaking corner.
Yeah.
From the sky, from the dirt, from, around the corner. It's
Meerkats are literally the popcorn chicken of the savannah. They're getting eaten from below, sideways, and above.
Yeah, you got snakes, you got birds, you got mammals, you got other reptile species that are going to try and take them out. Like, you got primates that will try and nail them. Like, I think it's a major missing component for a lot of facilities is going like, your animals don't face any pressure,
and they need to.
Yeah,
they should be designed to deal with it.
Yeah. Yeah, enrichment.
I hate you.